Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders are coming off the most exciting victory that we've seen so far in the 2024 NFL season. Actually, probably the most exciting victory we've seen in a long time. They get to travel to New York to take on Daniel Jones and the Giants, who lost on Monday Night Football. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down this Week 9 matchup between the Washington Commanders and the New York Giants. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win this game and why. We've got a goal of getting to 100 new subscribers for these Week 9 prediction videos we have going out, and any help is greatly appreciated. And Ryan, let's get into it here. So, obviously, we all know if you follow any semblance of sports or on ESPN on a daily basis, at minimum, just once a day, you know how the Commanders won the game last week. Absolutely crazy. I kind of equate it to, it's like, if you're golfing and you hit a ball towards the out of bounds, you're like, oh, I don't know if that's it. And then you find it barely on the edge. And you're like, I was confident the whole time. And then you get up and down for birdie. That's kind of maybe the golf equivalent.
I will accept that analogy, except it's like you're on a par 3 and you shank a drive into the trees behind the green, and then you hit a tree and get a hole in one.
Yeah,
like that. Okay, I
think that's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's maybe even more. That's even more closely related to how mind-boggling that victory was here. It's just super exciting. That's what's going to be funny about that is the NFC is very tight overall. The Washington Commanders are now 6-2 on the season, in the driver's seat for the NFC East, control their own destiny. But there's a lot of good. The NFC is actually pretty deep overall, and that victory, even if the Commanders regress a little bit and the Eagles pick things up and maybe win the division, winning that game now in the middle of the season is going to pay huge dividends overall to tiebreakers, because going up against a team like the Bears, who are in a super tough NFC North division overall, they're definitely going to be fighting for a wild card spot, because there's no way they're going to beat either the Lions or the Packers to come to winning the NFC North. So Commanders, huge win. Sometimes that's just the stuff that you need overall. They're going to be going up against a Giants team who are coming off a tough Monday Night Football loss. They've already played earlier this year where the Commanders kicked 7 field goals to beat them 21-18. And we're going to kind of dive into that a little bit here later. But I want to throw it over to you, though. What do you think of this Commanders team overall? They're definitely reminded me of the Texans team last year with their overall success that they're having with the number 2 overall rookie quarterback. What do you think of this Commanders team? What do you think they need to keep on doing to keep improving and potentially make a deep run in the playoffs come January?
Yeah, I mean, they're already doing a lot of the things I think you need to do to make a deep playoff run right now, honestly. And this is a good defense. I don't want to say like they're phenomenal, because I think that Dan Quinn has them playing good disciplined football. I think they just lack on the personnel side, but offensively they are just so spectacular. And it really starts with Jaden Daniels and his ability to throw the ball outside the numbers, because one, that makes defenses have to defend every blade of grass and really spread out their coverage, which then allows Jaden Daniels to use his athletic ability to just completely embarrass NFL linebackers on a week in and week out basis. Like, it's just ridiculous what he can do with his feet. And then you factor in, he's starting to get a lot better in those timing throws over the middle of the field, which was one of his knocks coming out of college. Like, he just is not so slowly developing into one of the top quarterbacks in the league, if he's not already one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And so, like, he's just such a dynamic threat. I almost said Brian Thomas Jr. Brian Robinson Jr. Is having a good season as well. And this offensive line is getting decent push in the traditional running game too. So that's just another element that defenses have to be prepared for. And you go look at that week 2 matchup between these two teams. This team kind of moved the ball, I don't want to say at will, between the 20s. They just couldn't convert in the red zone. And I chalk some of that up to just, this is Jaden Daniels' second start. He hasn't quite put that last puzzle piece in, because I believe the next week was when they exploded against Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football. And
Monday Night Football. Yeah.
Oh, Monday Night Football. And he was like 21 of 23, where one of those incompletions was a drop for like 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. He ran for another touchdown. Like, it was just an insane performance. And so this Commanders team is legit. They're such a threat on that offensive side of the ball. And I think defensively they're good. Like, they're a good, well-coached Dan Quinn defense.
Yeah, no, because that's what I'm glad you brought it up. That's going to be kind of segue to my points, because this Bears game reminded me a lot of actually that Giants Week 2 game. Is the Commanders were the dominant team. They were able to move the ball a lot. The defense played well and was able to shut down this Bears offense, who I thought was making steps in the right direction. I'm pretty sure the Bears were coming off a bye.
They had the big one against Jacksonville and then came off a bye.
Yeah, so I would have thought that they were still making these steps forward, but really for 3 quarters really shut down this entire Bears offense. But what I was going to say that reminds me of this the Giants game in week 2 is they just really struggled to get into the end zone for 59 minutes and 57 seconds in the game. They just couldn't get the ball in the end zone, but then they finally did at the very end of the game. And that's the same thing too with the Giants game in week 2. I think they had 5 field goals inside 35 yards, several of which were inside 30 yards. Like they would get right on the 1 or the 2 yard line. They just could not convert. Sorry, not the 1 or the 2. They would get to the 10-yard line, like in the 11-yard line, and just couldn't convert to keep the drive going as well. And so I think on the flip side then too, this defense has gotten better as well. And now they did lose Jonathan Allen, but that's not as big a loss too, with Jersey Newton coming in and playing a good role as well. And this Giants team on the flip side, they still are just struggling overall on the offensive side of the ball. And even too, I think it's going to be even worse for this team moving forward as well, losing Andrew Thomas. We saw that a lot. Daniel Jones was under duress during a lot of this game as well against Pittsburgh. And so having Malik Neighbors is going to be a great addition for Daniel Jones during the rest of his time here, and whoever the next quarterback is going to be in 2025 in the future moving on, he's just going to be a great weapon for this team. But I think the Commanders, Dan Quinn does have this offense playing really good football. I agree with you somewhat to an extent where like personnel, maybe they're lacking a little bit, but I still think they're
it's really in the secondary.
There are some areas they can improve on, but you still Bobby Wagner's still playing. That age isn't really showing a factor. You still got Deron Payne in there. Jersey Newton's a solid piece as well. They're getting after the quarterback. So like maybe yes, somewhat, but I feel like you could say that about a lot of defenses. I think the biggest thing though is the point that you made where Dan Quinn's got them playing really good fundamental football, defensive football. That's stopping these offenses, and I think you and I, going back to this Bears Commanders game, you and I and all the Commanders fans that commented on our prediction video, I think we were all right. Is like the Bears defense was able to shut down the Commanders offense at times, especially when they got into the red zone, to keep it close. Like they kept them close in the game, but the Commanders commenters were right because they were able to say like, yeah, no, like we're going to shut down this Bears offense. And you guys did until really like the fourth quarter when I think teams got tired and whatnot. And that happens a lot. So I think this Commanders defense is going to keep on improving. And at the same time too, I think this Giants offense I think the Giants are about to start going downhill now. Commanders do have to worry about this defense. That Giants do have a solid defense, especially a solid defensive line. But I just don't think that's going to be an overall issue for a full 60 minutes. I just think the Giants are going to struggle to score. So going to predictions, though, I'm going to go with Washington on this one.
Yeah, me too.
I think they're playing good, consistent football, especially going to be riding high after their victory this past week.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Washington also. There's just something about this team. Like they said it on the broadcast, so I don't want to like try to claim this point of view, but it felt like that, like I think it was like 2014 Auburn Team of Destiny, where it's just like things are just kind of like going right for them at the moment. And that's just kind of how this Washington Commanders team feels. Like it's just kind of working out for them. Like Jaden Daniels is having a really good season and like they're putting together these tremendous offensive performances. And when they need that stroke of luck or God to intervene or whatever, like they're kind of getting it at times. And so I think it's going to be a really fun rest of the season for the Washington Commanders. The one thing I will say, and not to like, I don't want to burst the bubble of Commanders fans, but Cliff Kingsbury, his time in Arizona, this was kind of the point in the season when we would start to see his teams like take a dip offensively because they kind of got figured out. I do want to see if Cliff Kingsbury has learned his lesson in this scenario of like, okay, like we're week 8, like this is what we've been running really well so far. How do we continue to build on this and not get complacent with, all right, our offense is doing really well running this, and this. Let's just keep doing it and like running our head into a brick wall trying
Yeah.
to get these to work. Because I don't want them to change what they're doing. I want them to keep progressing in what they're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does completely, and I think that's a fair concern based off
It,
history.
it's
But
not.
I will say this though, and I can't remember factually how good those Cardinals teams were at running the ball. 'Cause and I say and outside of Kyler Murray, because I think Kyler Murray running at that time and then Jaden Daniels running at this time is at minimum equal, if not Jaden Daniels is better at that. But what this Commanders team has though is they have absolutely shown that they can run the ball effectively with Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler,
Yeah,
and then the McNichols guy. Is it Terry?
Jeremy McNichols.
Jeremy McNichols. And so,
I believe
um,
that's him.
and then on top of that too, I think in comparison, maybe I think Terry McLaurin now in his prime probably similar to what DeAndre Hopkins was. Yeah, it was Hopkins, right? And
Yeah.
Fitzgerald. They had Hopkins and Fitzgerald at that time.
No, they didn't have Fitzgerald there. He's been out of the league for a while.
He did retire. You're right. But so I would think that so that's a similar comparison. But I just think this offense just seems different. I also think too as well. I think it's something for someone like Cliff Kingsbury. He's just focused on the offense now instead of being the head coach. He's got to focus on an entire team game plan, also working on the defensive side of the ball. His thing is just offense. I think he's going to be a great offensive. But he's already a great offensive minded.
And that is in no way a prediction that I was trying to make.
No.
It was more an observation of I just want to see how they kind of keep going because they have plateaued. Cliff Kingsbury offenses have plateaued in the past.
Based off history, I think
Yeah.
that's a fair concern to have because where they're at now, they're riding high. They're able to these offenses have worked. And I will say then too that maybe a little bit of evidence to kind of maybe prove your point. Just going back to last week though, they were able to move the ball well, but now they weren't able to get the ball into the end zone again. And that's the second time that we've seen that happen where they just struggled. They got in the red zone a lot, but just couldn't. They just couldn't execute and get the ball in the end zone. That's being very nitpicky on that point, but I think it's a fair, based off history, just concern. Be like, is Cliff Kingsbury going to keep evolving this offense so it stays top notch, one of the best offenses in the league? So we'll have to kind of wait and see. I think that they will be able to do that. Hopefully, he's learned off that lesson. I also think too, Jaden Daniels is a much better prospect than Kyler Murray.
I can agree with that as well. I think this does feel more sustainable. Again, I just wanted to kind of bring that up as a point of observation in the past. So
yeah,
let's go ahead.
That's our show. That's our job.
That's true. It's our show. We can do whatever we want. Damn it.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and wrap this one up here. We are both taking the Commanders in this matchup. Go ahead and like and subscribe. It is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Washington Commanders? Will it be the New York Giants? And that we'll see you guys next time.